Ever imagine how people coming from different culture and society connects and share their ideas, thoughts, and feelings with one another? Well, the key to communicating here is language. But how do we communicate between different cultures if we are not familiar with their languages? Well, in the modern world, everything has an alternative, and that's why we have an alternative for understanding different languages as well. In this session, we will learn how to translate one language into another using Language Translator in Python. In this course, a language will be picked from a drop-down list of languages into which the text will be translated. After selecting the languages, the Translate button will be clicked to translate the content. Finally, your translated text will be available in the language you specify. So if you find this interesting and want to understand it in detail, you are at the right place. Stay tuned and learn all that you can about Language Translator in Python. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new update or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video for any query or suggestions and I will respond to your comments.
Hello everyone, my name is Shambhavi. Hope you all are doing well. So today into this particular tutorial, we'll be learning about how we can make up a language translator app with the help of Python programming language. Okay, we'll be learning about making up a language translator Python project into this respective video. Okay, so that's the idea regarding this particular tutorial, this particular video, which is actually gonna be about. Now, the very first thing that I'll be taking you through this project is that what are we going to do up here? So in a language translator project, we'll be making up a language translator app. So onto that case, you can write up the language in any of the format. Let's say you want to write up some text into English. So yeah, you can write up the text into English, and further, according to your choice, you can convert that text into any of the language, whichever you prefer. Like you want to convert into German, you want to convert into French, you want to convert into Spanish. Any language you can convert it onto your own. Okay, so this will be a sort of project which we'll be making out here. What are the agenda that we are going to follow up into this particular video? So let's move ahead and check that out. So here's the agenda for this respective video. First of all, I'll be introducing you to all of the libraries which we'll be using up into this particular project. I'll be using up 3 libraries here. The first one is the gTTS library, that's called as gTTS library. Second one will be my Tkinter library, and third will be my googleTrans library. These will be the 3 libraries that I'll be using up into this particular project. So first of all, I'll be taking you to these 3 libraries, that what are these actually, what are they used about, how to use them out, what's the process for installation, which library needs installation, which library doesn't need installation. Each and everything will be covering up here. Further, after learning about all of these 3 libraries, I'll be taking you towards the implementation of the project, that's the language translator. So that's the agenda which we are going to follow up here into this respective tutorial. Let me take you to the very first topic of ours, and that's the gTTS library. Okay, whenever you want to convert text to a speech, you always use out the gTTS library. As the name suggests, G stands for Google, first T stands for text, second T stands for to, and the S stands for speech. That's the Google Text to Speech library. Okay, first of all, that's the full form of gTTS library. Okay, it converts the Google text to speech using the Google. It's one of the Python libraries which we have up here, and preferably that's used for converting of the text to speech only. With the help of the Google, you translate up the text into the speech format. Okay, and how is that done? That's done with the help of the APIs. Okay, so it's one of the Python libraries and CLI tool to interface with Google Translate's text to speech API. Okay, it's used for Google Translate's text to speech. Whenever you want to translate or convert, whatever you can say about that. So whenever is the need for converting any text to a speech, preferably in that we use up the gTTS library only. Okay, this is the very first library which is used by, because if there is a need for translating up any text to a speech with the help of Google, so that's the most used library which works, and yeah, it will be giving you the clear output as well in the case of the conversion of the text. Okay. Now let's say I want to convert up my text of English into French. In that case, I'm going to use up this gTTS library. But it's not alone. It's not alone one library. We have more libraries which can be used, and I'll be talking about the second one into this particular video only. Okay, so first of all, I hope you got up an idea that what is this gTTS library about, right? Now, what are the features of this particular library? So features is that you can use unlimited length of text. It means that you do not have a limitation that the text should be of 100 words or 200 words, nothing like that. Okay, you can use up any length of the text. Okay, you can use up any length of the text for converting that respective text to any other language. Okay. Now, why into my project I have used up this particular library? Because it helps you to translate that text with the help of Google. Okay, because in this particular project I don't want to convert my text to a speech. I do not want to do that out, because that will be I'll be converting the text to text only. But what's the use? Because it helps you to do the things with the Google translation. And for sure, if I want to convert up any text into any different language, I'll be needing the use of the Google translation. That's the way I did use it out into this particular project. Okay, hope I'm pretty much clear with this particular thing, because might be this particular question must be coming up into your mind, that if you do not have to convert the text to speech, then why are you using up this gTTS library? Because I want to translate out my text with the help of Google, because it's not possible for me to write n number of things. Like in English, if it is how are you doing written, then what is it said in German, what is it said in French, what is it said in Spanish, or whatever is said, like you say that into Hindi. It's not possible for me to write up each and everything into my program. That there has to be some automation in the use of these particular things, right? So into that particular case, I am simply using up this Google translation. Okay, so hope I'm pretty much clear. So yeah, I just told you that you can use any unlimited length of text, and even you have here customizable text. It means that like you want to provide up some pronunciation corrections or all those things, that as well works fine. So this is how this gTTS library works about. This is how it is used for, and these are the features which you have up here. What's the process for installation? So yes, you need to install this library onto your device for the use. So into that particular case, the command is pip install gTTS. Okay. Further, I'll be showing you as well the practical, that how do you install up these libraries onto your respective IDEs or onto your command prompts. Okay. But make sure to do out one thing here, that the G will be small and T, T and S. These three characters will be into the capital letters only. Make sure to do out this particular thing. Otherwise, if you're not doing it, will show you some sort of error that the library doesn't exist, or name is wrong written, something like that. Okay, so if you're installing onto your own, to do out this particular thing, write up G in the small and double TS will be into the caps. Okay. Hope I'm pretty much clear with this gTTS library, that what is it, why are we using this into our project, and what's the use of, what are the features of this particular library, and how to install that out. Right. Let me further proceed out with our second library for the project. That's my Tkinter library. I hope many of you have must heard about this Tkinter library, because this is one of the most famous libraries which we have up into the Python programming language. So why are we using it into our project, and what's the actual use of Tkinter? Let's understand them about. Here we go. So Tkinter is actually a package. You call it as a library or package, that depends on you. So Tkinter, whenever you want to make up some GUI stuff, GUI means the graphical user interface. Okay, whenever you want to make up some GUI stuffs that are graphical user with the help of graphical user interfaces, so into that particular case, you use out your Tkinter library. Okay, we call that as TK interface as well. Okay, so this is used for making up the GUIs program, GUI apps as well you can use. And here you are having many versions of the Tkinter as well. Okay, many versions of Tkinter are there as well. Now one thing you have up here, that Tkinter library always use, whenever you're using the Tkinter library, always use out any offline IDE. Okay, because many IDEs are there which are online, and onto that online it's not possible for you to make up the Tkinter projects. Reason is that because Tkinter generates its own output window. Let's say whenever you run up a program, onto the downside or onto left hand side or onto right hand side you have up a console, right? And in that console you get out your simple outputs whatever are there. But this doesn't happen with the Tkinter library. In the Tkinter library, it actually has its own window which is generated out, and further onto that respective window only the work is done. Okay, further onto that only the work is done. Whatever the output you are gonna get, that will be onto a different Tkinter window. Further, you want to write anything, you want to put up some buttons, you want to put up some drop down menu, or you want to write up anything, everything will be displayed onto your Tkinter window only. Okay, so how does this Tkinter window looks, and what are the things which you could do, what are the functions that you could use, that I'll be showing you up all into the practical implementation of this language translator project. Okay, there I'll be discussing up with the practical implementation, that how is it, how does the new different window looks about, and what are the things, what are the functions, everything I'll be discussing them. Okay, now simply you can, if you are having a command prompt, command line, so into that simply you could write -m Tkinter, and a window will be opened up for you. That will be a simple Tkinter window. We even call that as a Tkinter window, or we even see that as a TK interface. Any of these actually work about. Okay, so hope I am pretty much clear with this thing to you as well. Now, if I talk about that, what's the process for installation of Tkinter? So Tkinter doesn't need installation onto your devices. It automatically comes installed with the Python programming language. So you do not have any command like pip install Tkinter or anything like that. Nothing is used about. Simply you could write import Tkinter, and you could use further your you could use the functions or methods whatever are there into the Tkinter library. Again I would repeat, because that's a confusion which many people are actually having, that Tkinter is the library, it's a package which doesn't need the installation. Installation is not at all required. It automatically comes up with the Python. Okay, so hope I am pretty much clear. So Tkinter is used for making up some GUI apps, and simply you could use Tkinter for making up some cool projects, making up some apps, making up some GUI projects. Okay, So hope I am clear with what is the Tkinter library, what is it used for, and how the output is demonstrated, and about the installation as well of the Tkinter library. Great. Now let me take you to the next library, that's the last one for the project of our language translator. At last, we are having up the googleTrans library. So, what this library is actually about? Now, this is the library which helps you to Google translate out the things. Okay, this is the one which helps you in the translation with the help of Google. Okay. I want to translate up the text. That was the reason previously I used gTTS that will translate up the text. Now from this Google Trans, I'll be using up that text to be translated about. Okay. So yes, this is one of the free and unlimited Python library that implemented Google Translate API. It uses up the API for the translation of your text. Okay. So text will be taken up from gTTS library and Google Trans will help you to translate that text. Okay, hope I am pretty much clear. So, this perspective, now there is one simple thing that Google Trans library is compatible. Like you can use the Google Trans library if you're having Python version 3.6 or above. Okay, so make sure that if you are not having the Python version 3.6 or above, and I would recommend you that have 3.6 above only. So into that respective case, if you do not have the version 3.6 above, so once uninstall your Python, or you could simply upgrade your Python version as well. Whatever is preferable, please do that out because it's Google Trans only and only works upon the Python 3.6 above version. Okay, great. What are the features of the Google Trans library? So it actually is this library works in a faster manner and it uses up the server that is translate.google.com. Okay, this is a server which is used in this particular library. Now, this Google Trans library is actually having up a feature of the auto language detection. It means that it can automatically detect up the language, that what sort of language is written up. Let's say I'm not going to declare that I'm going to put up my text into English language only. I'm not going to do that out. Okay. In the further video, when I would show you the practical implementation of the project, into that case, you will be noticing that at none of the places I mentioned that I'll be writing up my text into English. Then how come it is able to detect that from English I have converted into different language? That thing will be done with the help of Google Trans library. So actually it is having up a feature like it can detect up any language accordingly. Auto language detection feature is there in the Google Trans library. Okay. Whenever you want to do the bulk translations, whenever you want to do a lot of translations at one time, this library is as well used about. Okay, it is as well having up a customizable service URL and even it is having HTTP support. Okay, so these are the features which you have up here into the Google Trans library and that will be using up into our project as well. Okay. Installation is again simple. You could use pip install Google Trans and it will be installed out for you. I'll be showing you out that onto the IDE that I'll be using about. I'll be showing you the practical implementation for the installations as well. Okay. So, hope I am pretty much clear with this Google Trans library as well. That what is it about, what is it used for, what are the features and even about the installation. Now next we are having out the demo for our Python project, that's our language translator. So from this particular place, I'll be taking you to my IDE and that's my PyCharm IDE. You can use any IDE of your choice. Let's say Visual Studio Code, Jupyter Notebook, Sublime, Spider, PyCharm, whatever you prefer, like you can use about, but not the online IDEs. Only use the offline IDEs. Okay. Now let me take you further. onto my PyCharm ID, and let's first of all see the installation process. Further, we'll be writing out our project for the language translator. So here I am onto my PyCharm IDE, and let's first of all see the installation. Further, I'll be demonstrating you the importing and the rest of the things of the libraries. Okay, so let me go on to the terminal here. Great. You can use the command prompt or whatever you prefer like for the installation process. Okay. So my very first command for the installation is I'll be installing the gTTS. So pip install gTTS. I would zoom in and you can have a clear look. This is my command which you have to write up here once again. That's my command. Okay. You have to write up pip. Then you have to write up here install, and further you have to write up here gTTS. G will be small and TTS will be in the caps. Hit out enter. It will install up this particular library for you in some time. But for me, I did already install out this library. So it's showing me that the requirement is already satisfied. But for you, if you haven't downloaded this up till now, so it will take up some time in the installation, and further it will show you that successfully installed. Okay. I could do one more thing. I could write up the same command here as well. Once I could put that out. I could put up right and like this. My first command is pip install and gTTS. Okay, that's my first command. Now, further, what do I need? I need to install up my second library. Okay, so Tkinter doesn't need any installation, so that's pretty fine. I'll be installing up my googleTrans. Again, the command is same, pip install, and you're going to write Google Trans. Okay, Trans. Hit out enter. This is how your Google Trans library will be installed. In Google Trans, you do not need out any capitals or anything like that. Let me highlight that. This is the command. Okay, pip install Google Trans. For me, this is as well already installed, so it is showing me requirement already satisfied. But if you haven't installed that up till now, so for you it will show that installing, and at last it will show in successfully installed. Okay, Google, and here goes your trans. And let me close out this right here. Tkinter doesn't need installation, that I had already mentioned you about. So these are the two commands. You can write them onto your, you can use them onto the command prompt, or you are using Jupyter notebook, whatever you are comfortable with. Okay, installation. Now I'll be taking you to a new notebook, and into that notebook we'll be learning about the practical implementation of our project for the language translator. Okay, so here I am onto my PyCharm IDE, and further I'll be writing up all of my codes onto this respective IDE only. Okay, before moving forward with any of the things, let me quickly tell you about this particular IDE, that what is it actually, and how to be use this out. So this is one of an offline IDEs where you write up the Python program to use up the Python programming language for making up your projects and even for writing up your codes. Okay. Now, I would refer you that you can use any of the respective IDEs according to your choice. You want to use Visual Studio Code? Yes, you can. You want to use Jupyter Notebooks? Yes, you can. If you want to use PyCharm, you want to use Sublime, whatever you just want to use, you can use that out. But one exception is there, that do not use the online IDEs. Okay. Because now this is a GUI project, that's the graphical user interface. It's a that sort of project. Okay. Now, the library which we'll be using up here, that is Tkinter. So that Tkinter library, you can't use that out onto the any of the online IDEs. Okay, you can use that out into the offline IDEs only. Okay, so I recommend you to use any of the offline IDEs according to your choice, according to your easiness. Okay. So I'll be using a PyCharm throughout this respective video for making up my project. Okay, so let's get started with making up of our language translator. Okay, The libraries which will be used, I did already give you the idea regarding all the three libraries that are used up into this particular project. The gTTS, the Tkinter and the googleTrans. All three I gave you the overview that what are these library about and what do these libraries actually do. Okay, so further now I'll be moving up and I'll be start installing up the libraries for me and I'll be writing up the respective codes for me. Okay, so first of all, my libraries which I'm having, I'll be importing them out. So for the very first, I'll be importing up my Tkinter library from Tkinter import asterisk. Okay. Now, what does this line actually means? This line means that from my Tkinter library, okay, from a Tkinter library, I am importing up all of the functions which I am having up into this particular library. Now, why I am actually importing up all the functions? See, because it can be the case that at some point I could put up the buttons, at some point I would need up a box, or let's say at some time I need up the drop down menu, the things like that. Okay, so individually importing all of these functions, it's not a tedious task, but yeah, it's going to take up some time for you to import all of these functions individually. Right, so as to avoid up that particular thing, I am simply importing up all of the functions from my Tkinter library. So that's from Tkinter import asterisk. Okay, hope I'm pretty much clear with this. Now next I'm going to import up from googleTrans. From googleTrans, I'm gonna import up the translator. Translator. Now, what is this about? googleTrans is yet another library with which we help, like it is a sort of a library. With the help of Google, we used to translate out our languages into different language. Right, so this googleTrans is all about that. And from that, I imported up a respective function that's my translator. Because what project I am making? I am making up a language translator, right? So into that, I will be needing up that function which will help me to translate one language into another. So if you want to do so, into that case, translator is the function which allows you, which helps you to translate one language onto the other language. Let's say I want to translate English to German or English to French or English to Hindi or Hindi to English, any sort of things like that. So translator is the function which will help me to do so. And this translator is a function which comes under the Google Trans library. Okay, so hope you got the idea that why from the Google Trans I imported up the translator. Okay. Next, my third library goes from gTTS. Okay, from gTTS, you have to import gTT capital S. Okay, so this gTTS is as well the Google Trans library. It is as well a sort of library which will be helping you to translate up your language into different types of languages. Okay, so that's the complete and even that's the clear idea regarding all of the three libraries which I'm using up here. Okay, now what will be the layout of my project? What will be the layout of my program? So what we'll be doing is that we'll be giving up the dimensions. I just want it in a rectangular manner. So I'll be giving up some dimensions according to that. Like my length will be somewhat larger and my height would be somewhat smaller. Okay, so I want it in a rectangular shape, so I'll be giving up the dimensions accordingly. Further, at one side it will be written that from which language you want to convert into which language. So let's say on the left hand side it would be written that I want to convert from English. On the right hand side you will be having up a drop down menu. Under that drop down menu, as soon as you click, you will be having many options of different languages into which you want to convert your written text. Okay, then you'll be having up a space for writing that what text you want to convert. So into that, whatever the text you want to convert, you have to write that down. And in the center of that rectangle, I'll be having up a box. And that box will actually into that respective box, my converted language will be displayed. Let's say I want to convert English to Hindi. Okay, so when I wrote that I want to convert this sentence, let's say, how are you? Okay, I want to convert this sentence, how are you, of English into Hindi. So in the center, I'll be having up a box, and into that box only, my translated, my converted sentence will be shown, and that's so into my Hindi language. Okay, that's the idea of my language translator program. Okay, now further into this perspective, accordingly you could put up some background colors, accordingly you could give different sort of colors so as to make it look more feasible. Okay, so I'll be letting you know those as well in the respective video only. Pretty fine. Let me just get forward here. And now the very first thing that you always have to do whenever you are using up the Tkinter library is that you have to make up a window of that Tkinter library. Okay, so I'll be giving up the variable tk underscore window. Again, the variable you could give according to your choice, whatever you want. Now, if you're using up the Tkinter library, so into that the output which you will be able to see, a new window will open for you, and into that respective window, you'll be able to see your final output. Okay. That is why it's our duty, first of all, to make up that respective window into which you will be able to see your output. Okay, so tk underscore window is equal to, I'll be writing up tk like this. This is what is actually my Tkinter window. With the help of this respective line, I am making up my Tkinter window. Okay, further getting down here, I'll be setting up a geometry. So I'll be writing up tk underscore window, because tk underscore window is the variable into which I had made my Tkinter window. Right? So for rest of my program, at each and every place, if I want to insert something, if I want to put some color, if I want to give some dimensions, if I want to put up any button, or if I want to put up any box, anything like that, I will be using up this tk underscore window variable. Okay, for the rest of my complete program. So tk underscore window, and here I'll be having up the geometry function. So geometry. Okay, and into the bracket I'll be setting up the geometry. Let's say it's 600 cross 300. Now, one very important thing to mention up here, where many people actually made the mistakes, and finally they are not able to figure out the error which they are making. So it's not that multiplication sign. Okay, it's the character which is x, a small x alphabet. Okay, that is it which we had put it up here. So make sure not to put up the multiplication sign, put up this x here. Okay. Now, if you just want to give up any background color to your Tkinter window which is gonna appear, so yes, you could do so as well. Let me tell you how. So it's tk underscore window dot, it will be config. Yes, config. Into the bracket, write up bg. bg is referring to your background. Okay, and what background color you want to give? Let's say I want to give it here as light pink. So I did mention that out. Now, whenever you are using up the Tkinter library, let's say whatever the things you did want to write, you wrote up everything. Now, further you want to finish up your program, let's say. Okay, now into the Tkinter library, it's very much necessary for you to put up a function which is main loop at the last. Let me show you how. So tk underscore window dot main loop. What this main loop does, it actually a sort of, it gives the indication that yes, at this particular place your complete program has been completed. Now when you run up your program, you will be able to see your final output, and if you are not using up the main loop function. So into that respective case, you won't be able to see any of the output of your program. Either you are getting the error or you are not getting the error. If your program is completely error free, then also if you haven't mentioned up this main loop function at the last of your program, you won't be able to see your final output. Okay, so make sure, and this respective line has to be written at the very last of your program. Okay, so yes, this is what it is appearing. Now let me show you that how the Tkinter window actually looks like, and then further we'll be moving forward with the rest of our things. Okay, so yes, this is how my Tkinter window actually looks like. Pretty fine. So this is how my Tkinter live window actually looks like. So this is a light pink color which we did give up, and TK is already mentioned up here. That's my Tkinter window. Okay. I haven't mentioned up anything inside that, so nothing is coming up here, simply my screen is coming. Okay, it is of the dimension 600 cross 300. Okay, I would just now stop running this out now. Fine, done. This is all sorted. Now what is my next task that I have to do? My next task is that I have to put up the boxes here, the entry boxes, the buttons for translating the language, and all those things I have to put it up here. Okay, so let me just get down from this particular place and let's start writing up all of those respective things. Okay, so first of all, what I'll be making up an entry window. Okay, so my variable goes entry underscore window. Entry window means that into which you will be able to write what is the text which you want to convert. Okay. So into that I'll be using up the function which is entry function. Okay, I'll be using up the entry function because this is the function which allows you to make up the entry window into which you will be able to type or write anything. Okay. Into the bracket, I'll be writing a first of all tk underscore window variable into which I have made up my tkinter window. Okay, comma. What will be the background of the entry box? So BG I want to be in, let's say, BG I want to be in the black color. Okay. And what about my FG? FG is my font color. Okay, you can say it as foreground, or FG is my font color as well. Okay, font color I want to be the white. So my background will be black and my font color will be the white. Okay. Further, what will be the font size for you? So font size I will be just defining those about. Let's say my first of all the writing of my font will be Arial. The size I want it to be 16, let's say, and I want the writing to be in bold. Okay. Let me do out one thing. Yes. Okay. So my font will be the Arial. The respective size for my font will be 16, and I want my font to be in the bold handwriting. So this is what I did. Now here you could give any of the respective fonts according to your choice. Okay, no issues in that case. That's done. Now what I would do is that I would simply give up here the dimension where this entry window has to be placed about. Okay, this entry box has to be placed about. So entry underscore window, okay, dot, and here I have the function which is place. Now place is a function which allows you to give up the x and y dimensions, x and y values, to place up any of your respective thing. Okay, let's see now into this particular case I want to place up my entry box. Okay, so onto that particular case, this respective function, that is the place, which will help me to allow and it will help me to put up the entry box onto a respective place. So pack, and here my let's dimensions are 20, and let's say I want to be 60. Okay, 60. Fine, pretty fine, that's done. Now if I run out my program here for a quick, so see here you are able to see up this entry box, and yes, you could write up anything onto this respective one. Okay, done. I would just close this out now. Okay, fine. And is y value, I could take it as 40. That would be, I guess, more feasible. Let me just check it out once. Yes, it's a little bit upper only, and then that's working. Fine. Okay. Fine, that's done. Entry window has been made up. Now, next, what do I have to make? I have to make up that drop down menu. Okay, with that drop down menu will be having different sort of languages which I want, right? Onto which I want to convert up my text. So, drop down. Okay, drop underscore drop down. That's my variable name. Into that, first of all, I just want to write up here that what sort of things will be giving. So that will be all will be my string var, right? So string var, that whatever the like names will be there into this drop down menu, all will be belonging to the string into this particular case. Okay, great. Now further, what do I have to do? I will simply once again use up this drop underscore down variable which we did make, drop underscore down. I'll be putting up a dot and I'll be using up the set function. Now what has to be set up here? Like that drop down which is gonna come up in the very starting, what do you want to write? I want to give it a text in such a way that it will be select or I could just write choose language, but select would be more like good. Okay, select lang. Like this, right? This is the drop down menu which I just wanted to write up here, and this is the respective text which I wanted to be displayed up. Okay, now what I'll be doing is that I'll be giving it up the dimensions and setting up the background color, setting up the foreground color, the size, everything I'll be doing up here. Okay, so how to do that out? Okay, drop underscore down was a variable which is actually already made it out. Now what I could do is that I could simply make a one more variable. Okay, so okay, list underscore lang. Okay, my variable name, language list. Okay, so into this I could give up the function which is option menu, my respective function which will help me to make up the drop down menu, and into that you'll be having up different options of different languages into which you want to translate your text. Okay, so option menu is the function which will help you to do so option menu. Into this I'll be first of all writing up my variable into which my Tkinter window is there. So tk underscore window, right? Next, what's my option? So that will be my drop down the respective variable which we did make. So drop underscore down. Okay, and what do I have? I actually have to make up a variable. Okay, for right now I'll be making up an empty list. That will be lang underscore choose, lang underscore options. Okay, and I'll be making up an empty list right now. I'll be afterwards filling that out. Okay, and this respective I'll be putting up here. So lang underscore option. Fine. So that's pretty much done, I guess. I just did out. Further, I will have to give up some configurations about my background, about my foreground, about my font and everything. Okay. So now what I'll be doing is that I'll be getting up here. I'll be writing list underscore language, my variable. But I'll be using up the configure function. Okay, now into the bracket, I'll be using up the BG color. So my background color, I want it to be, let's want it to be yellow. Okay. Okay, I have to put up the double quotes and let me just get up some space here. Yeah. Yellow will work. And then after that, I just want the FG color. That's my foreground and my font color. I want that to be into the black. Okay. What will be the font size and everything? So I want my font equal to, that will be Arial. Rather than I want the size to be in the 16, and even I want all the languages to be in the bold. Okay, this was all which I wanted, so I'll note that down. Further, I have to give up the dimensions that where to put that out. So list underscore language variable dot, here will be my function. This is place, which will help me to give up some x and y dimensions, x and y values. So x will be equal to the 400, and let's say my y is equal to 40. Okay. So this is something which I did give up here. This is something which is simply mentioned by me at this particular place. That's my option menu, my drop down menu. Okay. Now, next what I'll be making up, I'll be making up the second label. Okay. Now I'll be making up some few labels here, and those respective labels will help me to display up my translated text and all those particular things. Okay, let's make those things out. So I'll be writing up one underscore label. Okay, my variable name. So that will be equal to here, as I'll be using up the label function. Now, whenever you want to write up something onto the Tkinter window, you always use up this label function. Okay, whenever you want to write up anything, you always use up this label function. So into this, I'll be writing up tk underscore window. Okay, tk underscore window. Comma, what about my text? So I want my text, okay, I want my text to be like this something. Okay, that will be 6 right here. Now, okay, I am simply giving up the spaces here, nothing more than that. Okay, fine. Now, what about my background color? So, my background color, I want up to be for this label as, let's say, black only. Okay, comma. And what about my FG color? FG would be white only, let's see. Okay, putting up a comma, getting down. Let me just get down here. Again, displaying up my font values. So font values, I'll be writing up in a form like here I have the Arial. Size I would be increasing up now, let's say 42. And I'll be writing that up into the bold language. Okay. Getting down and placing this one underscore label. So one underscore label dot place function will come up here. And now I have to give up the value. So value for x will be 0. And the value for the y will be 120. Okay, let's say these are my values which I want to give. Fine. This one is made. Now, second, I will be simply making, okay, first of all, I will be writing up a translated text. I'll be having up a text place. And into that place, it will be showing translated text. So after that translate text, I'll be having up a button of translating. So as soon as I click on that respective button for translating, what will happen? At the place where it is written translated text, my real translated text will come up there and show us as an output. Okay, this is what is going to happen about. So here I'll be writing up a 2 underscore label. That's equal to, I'll be writing up the label function here. Okay, inside that I'll be giving up the Tkinter window. So tk underscore window. Okay, comma, what's my text which I want to mention up here? So text I want it to be in the form in the translated language. Let's say this is the thing which I want it to be. Okay, comma. Now what about my background color? So I want this background color of mine to be in the white color. Okay, and what about the FG color? That's my font color, and this time I want it to be in the red. What about the font values? So font will be equal to here as like Arial. Okay, then we'll be having the size again 42, and then here I am having the bold. This is the font size which I want. Okay, further getting down, I will be rounding up 2 underscore label dot here I'm having up the place function, that's where to place that out. Okay, so value for the x will be 180 and value for the y will be 140. Okay, value for x will be 180 and y will be 140. Okay, that's pretty much done. Now, next what do I want? One second, let me get down right here. Now I'll be making up a button. So that will be a button which will onto which it will written translate. That will be written onto that particular button. As soon as I click onto the button, it will show me the translated text. Okay, so here I'll be making that out. So translate underscore b. Okay, my variable name. The function which I'll be using for making up a button is this button function only, but b will be capital for this. Okay. Further, I'll be writing up the Tkinter window into which my Tkinter window is stored. Next, what is the text which you want to write up onto that button? So I want to write up onto that button somewhat in the way, let's say, translate. Okay. Further, what will be the background color for that button? So background color, I want it to be into a manner, let's say it would be green. Okay. And what about my FG? I will be keeping this as white. Okay. And about the font, so yeah, font will again be somewhat the same values only a little change will be there. Font is equal to firstly it will be my Arial. Okay, let's say it will be 26 the font size and it will be in the bold as well. Okay, now further after this what I'll be doing is that I will be having up an option for simply giving up the command as well. Okay, I have to give up the command here as well. So what I would do, I'll put up a comma and here goes my command function. Now into this command what I will be giving, I will be simply giving up the values. I'll be simply giving up my command function at this particular place. So for that I have to define up a new function and into that respective function I'll be writing up the main command of my complete program. Okay, so first I'll be going above and defining up that command function. So let's say I'll be coming up somewhat at this particular place. One second. Right here. And I'll be writing div and let's say it will be translate underscore language, my function name. And simply I would be writing up here as pass for now. Okay, and inside this I'll be passing up the same function translate underscore language, but make sure one thing that you do not put up the brackets after this translate language function. Okay, after this particular function you do not put up the brackets because that's not at all needed, right? So hope I am pretty much clear up to this particular place whatever I did wrote up. Now further we'll be defining up the functions, giving up the choices and rest everything now we'll be doing about. Okay, so now further I'll be giving up, first of all I'll be filling up this lang underscore or function, then I'll be moving up forward with the rest of my things. Okay, so now into this particular case what I'll be doing is that I'll be giving up different languages. Now I'll be giving up those respective languages in, okay, I'm sorry, I have to put up equal to. Right, now I'll be giving up the languages in such a way as I want them to appear into my drop down menu. Okay, we want that to be appearing in the 1 by 1 format. So that is the reason I'll be giving up all of the languages in the 1 by 1 format. Let's say I would just put up here, let's say it's Hindi, okay, comma. Let's say it's English, comma. Let's say I am having Spanish. Okay, let me put that double inverted commas. Spanish. Okay. Then let's say I'm having up German. Let's say then I'm having up French. Okay, let's say I'm having this French. Where is that F gone? Great. Okay, let's say these are the only languages in which I just wanted up the conversions. Further, according to your choice, you could add n number of languages, whichever you prefer, like. Okay, that's done. Now let's do it one quick thing. Let's run out our program up till this particular place and let's see what's gonna happen and like what sort of output we are getting up here. Okay, so translated language is too big. This is my button, I guess. So yeah, this was my translated language or some button. And this is okay, pretty fine. So select languages option is, let's say select French. Yeah, this is coming. It's pretty fine. Okay, translated language is to be changed upon because the dimensions actually have to be changed, right? I would just close this out about. Okay, what did I give here? Did I give any button value? I guess I didn't give. Yes, that was the mistake. Let's give out a button value here. Let's write up here in the form button. What was the variable name? It was translate underscore b. Okay, so it is translate underscore b dot. Here we'll be having the place function. Okay, now where do I have to place it about? So I want to place it at, let's say, 220. X will be 220, and let's say y value will be here again. Let's say same 220. Okay. Yes, that's pretty much done, I guess. Let this be in the 25. Command is done. This is done. This is done. Okay, let's run that out now. Let's check it about. Okay, this is my button and my translate button which is coming up, and this translated language has to be a little bit more above. Okay, pretty fine, that works. Let's make that a little bit more above. So what I could do is that simply I could just give up the different sort of values. Okay, let's do that afterwards. First of all, let me define up the complete function. Then we can do up that respective thing afterwards. Okay, let's first of all define up the complete function of ours. Right, so now this language underscore option, I just filled up all of those like languages, and those are completely coming up correctly into the drop down menu. Right, now what do I have to do is that I have to make up this particular function. Okay, that is translate underscore language. Okay, now into this I'll be writing up, let's say, O1. Right, okay, let that not be, let it be N1. My variable name, okay? And you remember I made up an entry box. Right, that was entry underscore window. So I'll be using up that same entry underscore window variable dot get. What it will help me to do, it will help me to get up, get the like whatever text I have written onto the entry box. Whatever the entry box we did made and whatever the text I have written, it will help me to get up that respective up here. It will help me to get up that respective box here. Okay, now that's the particular thing which is coming out. Okay, so that is the reason we use of this get function here. Let me now just get down at this particular place, and I could use n2, my next variable, and into that I'll be using up my translator function, which we did actually import it out from my googleTrans library. Remember, the second line which we wrote out of our program was from googleTrans import translator. So now this is the thing which we didn't import out, that from my googleTrans library I am importing up the translator. Okay, let me just get down here. Further, I'm having n3 as my variable, and into that now I'll be having up a respective function, and that respective will help me to get up the value. So we did made up that downside. Remember, I just made this drop underscore down, but I'll be using that up to this particular place. So it will be drop underscore down dot, and it will be again my get, because drop down, whatever is saved up into the drop down function, I will be wanting up that, so that in whichever the language we want to convert about dot get. Okay, now in after this, now if my drop down list which is being selected, if my n3, okay, if the drop down one which I have selected, if that is, first of all I did wrote up, what did I wrote? Okay, first was in Hindi. Okay, if this is equal to Hindi, Then in that case, what do you have to do? You have to write up here a variable. Let's say it's CVT. Okay, and not CVT. Let that be change. Okay, so now we have to change it into change is equal to HI. You remember that these are the short forms which you have for different languages. Okay, you can go onto the Google and there you could get up the different abbreviations for the languages that you have to use about. Okay, in Hindi is done. Now elif, my next condition goes elif entry, like whatever the language which is chosen by the drop down menu. Now if that language is English, so into that case, what do you have to do? You have to write change. Now change will equal to en, right? En is the abbreviation for English. So it again goes elif. What's my next language? Hindi, English, Spanish. Now if entry is equal to Spanish, okay, then into that case, what will be the change? So change will be equal to ES. ES is for the Spanish. Okay. Next, again your condition goes after Spanish. What do we have? We have German, then we have French. Now, if entry is equal to German. Okay, if entry is equal to German. So into that case, so change will be to, it will be DE. This is the abbreviation for German. And here my last condition, elif, entry is equal to, and this time it is French, right? Yeah. So my change will be equal to, let's say FR. Okay. So you can get up these abbreviations onto Google and you can just simply use that out. Now I did use up only 5 languages here. So I wrote that out only for 5 languages. The number of languages you are writing, for that number of languages, you'll be putting up different conditions. Okay. Great. Now here we'll be having up a function, a variable that is text underscore translate. Now that will be equal to, all right, you remember above we just made up N2. N2, what was it having? It was having my translator function. Right, so I'll be now calling that out. So here goes my N2 dot. Here we have the translate, N2 dot translate. Now what do you want to translate out actually? I want to translate up this respective. Okay, whatever the N1 we did give up here, I want to, one second, I want to translate that out. First of all, I'll be writing up here N1, comma. What will be the destination of the translation? So destination will be the change variable, which we did actually have made up here. This one. Okay, this is done. And now getting down, I'll be writing up here again. It will be text underscore translate is equal to, and again it will be here text underscore translate dot, and this time it will be my text. Okay, dot text. So whatever the text you are having, that respective one would be actually changed out here. Right, now further getting down, now what do I have? I'll be making up one more function. Let's say that one more variable. Let's say that's N4. What will be that about? Into this I'll be using up my gTTS library. Okay, what is my text actually? So my text is my text underscore translate variable, right? Text underscore translate variable, comma, and now here I'm going to use up the function which is slow. Okay, so for slow I'm going to do it as, set it as false for now. And what is my language? So my language is here change. Okay, this respective one, that is my change. And getting down here, you remember we just made up 2 labels, right? We made up 2 labels. This label I'm talking about now. Okay, this 2 label, one second, this 1 label and this 2 label. Let me do out one simple thing. Okay, let me do it one simple thing. This 1 label and this 2 label. These two are, I have written up here differently, right? Let me just give them a similar one. Okay, I'll be making this as 2 underscore label, and this as well I'll be making it up as 2 underscore label. And now here what I'm going to do is that getting language is equal to change. Okay, now getting down at this particular place, I'll be using up that yes, to underscore label, to underscore label dot, here we have the config. Okay, and now what's the text into that? So my text will be my text underscore translate. Okay, my text underscore translate will be my real text. Okay, so now what I have to do, I have to copy this out, control C, and I'll be putting this out just below the respective function here. So just below this I'll be putting it about, and I'll be removing this out from here. Okay, like this. And yeah, my Tkinter window is actually already made it out. Right, so translate underscore language was a function I did already give up here as in the command. Right, that's pretty much done. Now what do I have to do? I have to simply do up one single thing, that I have to make up the things in a clear way, right? That I have to give up the things in a clear way. So what I could do is that I could do up a one thing. Yeah, here what I could do, whatever the values I have given, it is white and red, and this as well I could give it as white, 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 and this as well I could set it up here as in the red. Okay, like it was coming up a different line, remember? So I could give up the similar values to these respective positions. And now what if I run out my program now? So let's see that what's gonna come up as an output. Okay, this translated language is quite large, which is written up. Let me reduce up the, let's reduce up the size for this, because it's coming too much bigger as coming up there, right? So I could do up one single thing. I could give this value as a 40. Translated language, that's pretty much done. 180 comma 1 it's 180 comma 140, that's done. Yes, we could give up these respective values, but instead of that, what if I give 30? I guess that would somewhat work. Let's see that out. So I could run it out here. Translated language, now it's looking a pretty fine thing. Now here I have to write out what I want to translate it out here. I could just increase up the size like this. Let's say I want to write up that how are you. Okay, this is my term which I want to, this is the thing which I actually want to translate. In which language I want to do it in the Hindi, let's say. And if I click on the translate button, okay, we are having an exception. Let's read that out here. So error, get data info fin, correction error. Okay, let me do out one simple thing. Self 20, line 75, 75, 85, 12, line number 12. Okay, let's take that out. So right here above we are having okay, change is equal to HRM. That's pretty much done. Okay, so now let's check out the final output of our program for the language translator. Okay, but before moving forward with the checking of my program, I just want to make up a quick correction into my program, and that's I just want to make up this entry window. Like we had given up the font size here as 16, right? I just want to change out that and make it a little larger, because in between of the project, when we just when we just ran out of program, so into that case, I hope that you have noticed that on left hand side corner we were having up our entry box of the black color, right? And it was pretty looking small. So let's do out one thing. Let's change up that out. Let me write up the size for my entry box as 20. I guess this would actually work out here. Okay, now let's run out our program. Let's check out the final output. Then further I'll be giving you once a recap of what we did in this particular project. Okay, so let me run that out very quickly here. So yes, here we click on the run. Great. So yeah, it would take up quite a little time, because okay, one more thing, that it's necessary for you to be connected to the internet for running out your particular program. Okay, pretty fine. So yes, here's my final output. Here, this is my entry box, is black color. Okay, I'm gonna write up here. Let's say that how are you? Okay, let's say my text which I want to convert in some other different language. Okay, from here I could just click on the drop down menu, And here we have different languages for which I could select out that for which respective language you want to translate out the text. Let's say I want to do it for Hindi. Okay, I clicked on that. Simply I can click on the translate. And where it is written translated language. See, here I got up my output, that's aap kaise hain. That's the conversion of how are you, that's in English in Hindi, right? Now, let's say I want to convert this how are you, that same thing onto, let's say, German. Okay, I clicked on German and I click on translate. See, at that respective place only, my text got changed. Right, so that was the reason actually. At every time, you remember I used to write up here end. 1 second, let me get above here, not that place, yes, this respective place. I used to write up here somewhat like this, somewhat like false and all those respective things, right? So that is the reason that I was writing about all of those particular things, so that again and again I do not have any of the need for running about my project. If I go up here and now if I just erase that out and I'm just, let's say I write I am going good, okay, and I want to convert that into Hindi, let's say, and I'm going to click on translate. So into that respective case, see, it translated my English text I'm doing good into Hindi, that's मैं अच्छा कर रहा हूँ, right? So onto that respective case, you do not need to again close your app and again open out your language translator app. If I click on, let's say, French and I click on translate, so yeah, here that's the third term which is I'm doing good into the French language, right? So I'm going to close out the output from here. Okay, now what are the changes that you could make up onto this particular project according to you? So you could add some more languages, like I did add up only 5 languages. You could add any n number of languages according to your choice. Further, you could change the dimensions, you could change the color of these respective things, and yes, you could just change up all of these respective things, right, according to your choice, whatever is actually needed about. So what we did into this particular project is that we imported out our libraries, Tkinter, googleTrans and gTTS, right? These were the 3 libraries. Further, I did wrote up here translate underscore language, and that was the respective function which we did made out for translating out our text that is written to English in any other different language. All of the things were done up here. Here we made up our Tkinter window. The dimension is given up here. Here goes my background color. Further, now what are the requirements I wanted up here? I wanted up an entry box. Further, I wanted up a drop-down list where I'll be having an option for selecting any language in which I want to convert. Then I wanted up a space where my final output will be displayed. And further, I wanted up a button. So a translate button. So as soon as I click onto that respective button, my final output should come up there. Right, these were all of my requirements which I actually wanted up. So onto that particular case, this was the output which we actually get out here, right, after writing up this complete program. That was our final project which is actually here for us. Right, so I hope that you are pretty much clear with this particular project. Hope you got up the idea as well, that how to implement out and how to make up a language translator app with the Python programming language. As I have used up the Tkinter libraries, it automatically becomes up an app right here. Okay, so hope I'm pretty much clear with all of these respective things. So now let's take a quick summary of whatever the theoretical things we have actually learned about. Let's take up a quick summary of all of those respective things. Now let's take up a quick summary of whatever we have discussed up till now. So we'll be taking up the recaps of all of the topics which we have discussed up till now into this respective tutorial. So let me take you from the very starting. We started out with the gTTS library. The full form was Google Text to Speech. So this respective library helps you to convert, helps you to translate the text to speech with the Google API. The features which you are having up here, you can use any unlimited length of text to be translated, and it even provides you with the pronunciation corrections. These were the 2 features which you are having up here. We use this library into our project for the translation of the text. We used about this particular library for this into our Language Translator project. And the installation process was pip install gTTS. This was a respective procedure which was used out for the installation of this particular library. Further, we learned about the Tkinter library. That was one of the libraries which helps you to design up the GUI tools, that is GUI projects, that are the graphical user interfaces. Right, so Tkinter is a package, and the final output which you get up, we call that as Tk interface. And you get up the output into a new window, not the similar window. And I hope that you had saw out that particular thing into the practical implementation of our language translator only. Right? Our output was displaying onto a new window. Right? Further, Tkinter, if you want to simply run that out onto a command line, simply or you want to check out the window, so you could write -m Tkinter onto the command line, command prompt, and you could simply check out the window. Tkinter is one of the libraries which comes up with the Python, so it doesn't need out any installation in the manual manner. Simply, you do not need to write up any command for installing Tkinter because it automatically comes installed with the Python programming language. As soon as you install Python, it as well comes up with installed. Okay. So after that, we learned about the googleTrans library. So this was one library which is free and unlimited, and that's for implementing the Google translation. It is as well a Google Translate API. So we were using up this Google Trans library because it actually has up a feature of auto detection, auto language detection, that it automatically detects that what is the language in which you are converting that text, okay, and in which language you have written up that text. That was the reason we simply used up this Google Trans library. And Google Trans is one of the libraries which is compatible with Python 3.6 plus. It means you must have the Python version 3.6 above, then it is only compatible. Further, this library as well helps you to do the bulk translation. It can translate a lot of sentences at one single time. Okay, so these were some features of the Google Trans library which we did learn about. Further, we had checked out the demo. We see out the practical implementation, that how you could make up a language translator app with the help of Python programming language and with the help of these three libraries, which were gTTS, Tkinter, and the Google Trans. And here we are at the last of our tutorial. I hope that you learned out a lot of things in this respective tutorial about the libraries, what are these, how to use them out, about the installation. Further, how you could use up this library for making up some cool GUI projects with the help of Python programming language. So this is all for this video. Till then, thank you and take care.
If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new update or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoyed this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video for any query or suggestions, and I will respond to your comments.